Am I in the wrong for retiring and moving to South America like every single person in my family knew that I planned to do since I was 16? I, male 55, just pulled the pin on my retirement. I put in 33 years of work and I'm done. I bought property in South America 12 years ago and I have been building our retirement home down there. I have dual citizenship so I can own property without it being a hassle. The house was designed to be perfect for us. A small house for the caretaker and gardener and 34 different fruit trees. The bathroom is up to North American standards and the shower has grab bars and stuff already built in for when I'm old. Everything's on one level so there's no stairs. My wife helped by making suggestions to the design of the house and by taking care of decorating it. We've been vacationing there for 8 years now and renting it out when we aren't there for some extra money. We have hosted friends and family there both with us and on their own. My wife has now decided that she doesn't want to live there for 7 months of the year. We have grandkids now and she wants to be more involved with their lives. I love my kids and grandkids and my parents who also live up here. But I am done with winter. If I never see snow again, it'll be too soon. The house has guest rooms and flights are cheap. If they want to see me in the winter, they're welcome to come down. Plus, I'll be back in 5 months for the summer to do some contract work. My wife said that she didn't want to go down there this winter. And that's absolutely her right. I booked my flight for September and she asked me about the expense on the credit card. I said I was leaving for the winter like I had told everyone that I was planning to do. This is when she said that she didn't want to go this winter. Actually meant she didn't want us to go this winter. I said I was going and that I would see her in the spring unless she changed her mind and came down. Now her, my parents, and my kids are bugging me about leaving her alone for the winter. But it's 100% her choice. So, am I in the wrong?
Am I wrong for going no contact with my parents after learning they had lied to me about my allergies all my life? Homie, if your parents told you you were allergic to peanut butter your whole life and you just discovered it, I feel bad for you. I would go no, I would sue them if I had missed out on peanut butter my whole life when I didn't have to. Hey everyone, I am 19 years old and my parents are in their 50s. For as long as I can remember, I have been allergic to several things: dairy, wheat, flour, gluten, legumes. Since I was a young child, my parents have completely kept them all out of our house. While other kids ate breakfast cereals, I ate fish and assorted pickled vegetables for breakfast. While other kids ate Lunchables, I had grilled chicken or fish with, again, assorted vegetables, usually sweet potatoes. While other kids ate birthday cake at the party, I had an apple. I never questioned this until a couple of months ago. I was at my aunt's house for my birthday party and she made brownies for everyone. For me, she took great steps to make them with almond flour and avoided all of my allergies. I started eating them and thought little of it until my aunt suddenly looked at me and in a panicked way asked which plate I took the brownies from. I pointed from the one where I got my brownies and she immediately stood up and told me we had to get my EpiPen. She raced to ask my mother for it and I sat there scared out of my mind because I had never mistakenly eaten flour before. I noticed my mother had calmed her down and then she said that we don't have to worry because she had switched the plates of brownies, and after all, I had eaten the ones made with almond flour. I found this incredibly odd because really, why would she swap the plates? That stuff doesn't even make sense, but for the time being, I let the issue rest. It didn't sit well with me for about a week, and I finally went to get an allergy test. The doctor started with a skin prick test, and lo and behold, I didn't react to any of the above substances. Then he ordered a blood test, and when the results came in, they said I had absolutely no intolerance to any of the foods I'm supposed to be allergic to. I was furious and called my mother. She eventually admitted that she lied to me because she wanted me to be on a Paleolithic diet and wanted me to be able to avoid all temptations. She raised me with a lie about her own health, but she keeps insisting that I try to see it from her perspective. She spams my phone with messages about how healthy I am, that I never had acne, and that I have been in great shape my whole life, that I have strong teeth and bones, and even that I got into a D1 college tennis team. She has started calling me ungrateful for her intervention and insisting that I should really be glad I never got carb addicted. I don't know what to think. I carried around an EpiPen for all of those years, one that I suspected may be fake, seeing as my mother never got me to replace it, and I don't even know anymore. Am I the asshole and an ungrateful son for losing it over this? When someone that close to you lies to you as bad as this, you kind of break that kid in a sense where he'll never really be able to trust people. When your own mom lies to you like that deeply, it messes you up, and that's never okay. You can have a conversation when your kid is old enough, like, hey, you're not allergic to this stuff, but give him all the reasons that you listed that I want you to be on this type of diet. Don't look, you lied to the dude. Why? After a certain age, like, you gotta let them make their own decisions.
Am I wrong for getting my coworker investigated and probably fired? I work in an animal ER, and unfortunately, we see a lot of animal death. It's definitely gut-wrenching every time, but it's part of working in the profession. So our hospital has an area set up for owners that is for euthanasia and death and grief. It's a private area that has a separate exit, a couch, a rug, calm lighting, and resources for dealing with pet grief. There's also a peephole in the door of the area that allows staff to see inside if the door is shut. It allows us to check in and see if the owner has left without disturbing them. Well, a few nights ago, I rounded the corner and found a coworker standing pressed against the door. He was staring through the peephole, so I slowed down and noticed he wasn't looking away. He was standing there staring through it and kind of smirking. My stomach dropped and I immediately felt sick. Something about it felt so off. I watched him stare for a minute longer before he glanced over and saw me. Am I wrong for getting a coworker investigated and possibly fired? I watched him stare and smirk until he finally glanced over and looked at me. He seemed nervous, backed away quickly, and said, "I was just checking if it's occupied," and wandered off. Because of my position, I have access to the security footage in our hospital, and I couldn't shake the feeling I had. So I went in the back office and pulled up the footage. I could see him leading a crying woman into the grief area and then immediately start spying on her the minute the door closed. I went to look over his last few shifts and I found 4 other instances of him staring at people while euthanizing or saying goodbye to their animals. I couldn't get that weird smirk out of my head, so the next morning I went to HR. At first they were a bit confused, wondering why I had concerns until I showed them the footage. He was escorted out pending a misconduct investigation, and that's when I heard they'd seen him do it on the shifts for a while, and also he'd go to the bathroom after.
Today's secret is from Grace.
I want to tell you a bit about my boyfriend of 6 years, Nick. He is one of the funniest and kindest people I know. He loves his family deeply and loves my family like they're his own. I've always been attracted to guys who are sensitive, so I was pretty stoked when I realised early on that he is the kind of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. I could tell you so many wonderful things about our relationship over the last 6 years. But honestly, the best part about being by his side is that we never have to do much together to have a good time. Give me a long, mundane car trip with him and I'm sorted. So yeah, that's Nick and that's us. And for the most part, we are truly happy together.
End of episode.
Which brings me to the secret. About 3 months into our relationship, I was lamenting to his mum and sister one evening that Nick was stalling on booking some flights for our upcoming overseas trip. I was desperate to book and couldn't understand why he kept delaying me. His mum and sister were originally a little evasive about it all, before eventually mentioning that, at the age of just 21, he was carrying around a bunch of debt from gambling. Initially, I didn't quite believe them. Yeah, I thought, I guess we go to the pub pretty often and he does put a bet or 2 down when we're there, but doesn't everyone? A few days later, when we were lying in bed, Nick finally opened up to me about his serious gambling addiction. Since then, our relationship has been a roller coaster of highs and lows as he's battled his addiction in secret. Socially, I'm his rescuer. If we are out with friends and he heads to the bar to buy a drink, he will often text me, asking if I can transfer him some money. There have been other times when I have handed my bank card to him under the table so it looks like he is paying for things. I also get messages sometimes when, halfway through a workday, he realises he doesn't have any money to buy lunch. I guess it feels like I'm in a tug of war all the time. One minute I'm like, I absolutely have to leave. I'm in my 30s now, and I need to think about my future. I find myself comparing my relationship to the ones around me and yearn for a time when my boyfriend can just shout me something as small as a coffee. But then I remember that gambling addiction is a disease, and he isn't choosing this. He doesn't want this life either. Carrying this secret feels heavy. I've told my mum, dad, and one friend. My best friend doesn't know because I get the sense she will be a little black and white about it all and tell me to leave. She doesn't understand addiction, so she won't understand Nick in all his complexity. At the moment, he is about to start recovery again after relapsing, and I find myself constantly wondering, is this what life is always going to be like? Do I even have the right to want to tell more people about this to ease the load? Is this my secret to share?
Oh man, that is a lot.
Wow.
Am I wrong for secretly ordering chicken wings after my vegetarian mother-in-law cooked for me? So I'm currently pregnant and lately I've been experiencing some really strange cravings. Before meeting my husband, I grew up non-vegetarian, but I made the switch to vegetarian after we got together. It's important to note that my husband and his entire family are strict vegetarians. Recently, my mother-in-law came to stay with us to help when the baby's born, and 2 days ago she made me a meal. It was a special meal that she prepared just for me, and I truly appreciated the effort and the thoughtfulness. I ate everything she made and did compliment her cooking. However, throughout the entire meal, I couldn't help but think about chicken wings. The craving was so overwhelming that after lunch, I ordered some chicken wings for myself and disposed of the waste in the kitchen bin. Of course, completely forgetting that my mother-in-law would see it when she used the bin. Well, surely enough, later that evening, she found the wrappers and confronted me. She was visibly upset and felt hurt, believing that I didn't like her food.